It's the Growler with PD and J. Here to analyze for you today. From Growler Bet to Jay's got stats. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Growler Podcast.
All right. Welcome into the latest edition of PD and J here on the Growler. Paul Lanier Jr. and Jay Morrison here with you on Wednesday as we lead into Bengals v. Steelers on Thursday Night Football on Amazon. It is a massive game, Jay. We will be there. We'll be doing the walkout. And I have a feeling the takes will be hot coming out of this game almost no matter what, whether win or lose.
Yeah, massive pivot game. Everything changes if they get a win. Everything continues in the current direction at warp speed if they lose.
Yes, it's a big one. We are going to break down all the aspects of it here. We are going to be joined, a special guest. Ross Tucker is going to join us here in this one. He is, we love Ross, friend of the program, and he is calling the game with John Sadak on Westwood One Radio. Of course, Ross Tucker podcasts on Dan Patrick Show, you name it. Great of Ross to join us. You're going to hear from Logan Wilson, who we spoke to yesterday about being benched for Barrett Carter. Really interesting conversation with him from the locker room. We're going to talk a little bit more broadly about this defense, Jay. And it's been overshadowed by an offense that's been so alarming that all focus had to go on what was happening there. But quietly, it's like there's been these moments with this defense, but it hasn't taken off to the level they need, and there's a lot of desperate stuff happening there right now. We're going to have all the stuff you're used to, ref report, the stats that matter, game analysis, prediction, Growler Bet. We got to reward the last one, and we've got to look forward to this Thursday's ARBIES. All of the things you come to expect us here are on the way in this one. Also, reminder, live show is happening Thursday. We got to see you guys down there. We are giving away tickets to the Bengals-Jets game at BetMGM and Tom's Watch Bar. We're starting at 4:30. We'll probably go till about 5:15, and we're going to be giving away those tickets. Here's what we're doing, Jay.
Can't wait.
This is a game of olds, right? They're calling it the Unk Bowl, right? It's Flacco and Rodgers. There's a lot of talk about how old they are, even though you and I are older than these two men.
Yes, quite a bit. For me,
bring us your olds is how we're giving away the tickets. Whoever can produce the oldest person in front of me at the end of this show will win 2 tickets to Bengals-Jets. Okay? You got an uncle, you got a grandpa, you got somebody that's going to be down there. Bring them, and the oldest person in front of me will win Bengals-Jets tickets at the end of our show at BetMGM, Tom's Watch Bar. So bring them down, bring them on in, and line them up. And we'll see who can. They're owed to Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers, who can be the oldest one in front of me for the tickets.
And it's perfect because that game is the Jets game, is the Ring of Honor game when you honor the past, when some of these older people watched a lot of those guys whose names are up on the Ring of Honor, and Dave Lapham as well going in. So perfect tie in there.
Yeah, Lamar Parrish from your era. So come on down for that. Also, we have awesome exclusive boosts. You can only get these parlay boosts at BetMGM during our show. They are not available anywhere else in any capacity for BetMGM. But if you come down, you can get my boost for this week, which is the Bengals on the money line, over 43.5, and Flacco over 200 passing yards. Not crazy. It is being boosted from plus 500 to plus 850 if you come down. A huge boost on that one if you think the Bengals can win. So you can only get that, again, when you come down to our live show at the window. They're also going to boost for you guys because you Growl Pals are great. Cincinnati plus 5.5, a Higgins touchdown, and 2 Flacco touchdown passes boosted from plus 475 to plus 625. Come on down, get it, take advantage of those. We'll also be giving away T-shirts. Our good friends at Graders will have stuff for you. everything that the prize wheel will be spinning. So come on down, hang out with us. If you've got questions, you want to talk to us about the game, you want to win stuff, you got your grandpa with you, swing on by to BetMGM, Tom's Watch Bar. We start at 4:30 and we'll go to about 5:15 down there. So we hope to see you at the show. All right, Jay. Let's just start with this. I want to just generally start. I mean, there's news in terms of Mike Tomlin's not happy about Joe Flacco being in Cincinnati, and Brian Callahan was let go by Tennessee. Will he be back in Cincinnati, him or his father, maybe at some point? I think there will probably be an open invitation. What that looks like, who knows? There's other news nuggets certainly to churn through, but let's just generally go to the importance of this game.
It's huge. Obviously, if they fall 3.5 games behind the Steelers, I don't see them coming back from that. I think everybody thinks the Steelers it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors. They're not as dominant as their record would suggest, and the Ravens are seemingly dead at 1-5. The Browns aren't going anywhere. It feels like if the Bengals lose this one, you can almost crown the Steelers the AFC North champs. I looked it up. There have been 13 teams in NFL history that had a 3.5 game lead through week 7. 11 of them went on to win their division title. One of the ones that didn't, the Denver Broncos, I can't remember the year now I don't have it in front of me, but went on a crazy 6-game losing streak, just totally fell apart. You don't see that happening with this Steelers team. I can see them slowing down, but not losing 6 in a row. And on the other hand, the Bengals win, and we talked about it last week, kind of a house money game at Green Bay, even though they weren't approaching it that way. I think the fan base, people from the outside looking at it, saying, be competitive in that game, get some hope, and then come home and beat the Steelers, and you change the outlook dramatically. And I think that's the part of it, just the belief, snapping this horrible losing streak, this offensive slump, getting that out of the way, and then you look ahead, Jets, Bears, some winnable games coming up after this game, after the mini bye. So it's one game, 1 of 17. They say that all the time, but it's against a division opponent. You've got a chance to have 3 AFC wins, 2 division wins. Those come into play if you get into a tiebreaker situation at the end of the year, which at 2-4, that's probably what you're looking at, is getting back to somewhere in that 500, just above 500, where tiebreakers are going to come into play. So it really is kind of hard to overstate how important this one is.
We had a question offered up in our AFC North whip around story this week, and it was, where do you stand on whether the Bengals should be looked down upon the fact that the Browns traded Joe Flacco to the Bengals? And my point is, if you were the Browns, what is the way that you get back into this thing? The Steelers losing games.
Yeah.
And the Bengals having Joe Flacco and playing Pittsburgh twice is one of the few ways that Pittsburgh comes back to the pack. You need to now. Again, I'm not going to get into that debate. That's for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But this is it. Like the Ravens at 1-5, the Browns and whatever hope they have, and the Bengals too. I think the hope is a game like this where you can bring Pittsburgh back to the pack a little bit. They can do it. This is one of those where we go with the fake walkout, Jay. we can do the 2 sides walkout here. All right, welcome to the walkout presented by Joseph Toyota of Cincinnati. The Bengals finally land a punch this year in the AFC North, beating Pittsburgh. They're now 3-4. They're now 1 game in the win column behind the Pittsburgh Steelers. Joe Flacco's for real. He can hold it together against the other old man. The Bengals are in the mix. That's if they win. If they lose again, welcome to the walkout presented by Joseph Toyota of Cincinnati. It's over. We asked a few weeks ago, are the Bengals cooked? They were simmering then. Now it's over. The meal's been served. They've been eaten. They were eaten up on Thursday night by Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sitting at 2-5, Pittsburgh at 5-1. It's just too steep of a hill to climb for Joe Flacco. If Joe Burrow was wearing the hiking boots, okay, you can see the late charge. They're just too limited everywhere to be able to overcome this kind of early deficit. Bye-bye Pittsburgh, run and hide time.
It's mock draft season. It's hot seat watch for Zach. It's all of that. It's a massive, like I said before, it's a huge pivot game. This is one of those ones that really, really the proverbial fork in the road, and we'll all be living it come midnight Thursday.
Yes, more into the specifics of that game in a little bit. I want to talk about what's happening on defense right now, Jay. And what's happening is a bit of desperation. You know, they are in the bottom 4 of just about every category that's worth a damn statistically. Okay, whether you care about success rate, points per drive, EPA per play, anything that's indicative of where you're at with a unit, the Bengals are in the bottom 4 defensively. It's clear that they're grasping for answers. The answer that they grasped at was benching Logan Wilson for Barrett Carter this past week in Green Bay and getting Barrett Carter some experience. And Zach Taylor essentially said, look, there's a risk in playing rookies at any point, but when are you wanting to incur that risk? Essentially, we're willing to start incurring the risk now in the hopes that it'll start paying off later. The fallout from taking your best tackler at linebacker, amongst the linebackers, he has the best missed tackle rate. And you're one veteran on a very young developing team with a C on his chest and the green dot on his helmet, and extracting him from your defensive equation is just crazy risky. Logan Wilson thought it was too. Myself, Charlie Goldsmith, and a few others that came and went talked with Logan about this, and it was pretty eye-opening, the conversation. This is from Tuesday's open locker room session with Logan Wilson.
You know, I'm going to continue to support Barrett, and I told him that like on Wednesday of last week. We found out about this on Monday, and you know, I put my arm around him. I told him, I said, "There's going to be no hard feelings between us. Just know that, like, I'm not going to change who I am. I still want to help you out. I know I've played a lot of football, and there's things I can still pour into you." And I told myself I was not going to change who I am because of a time of adversity in my life, and you know, and whenever my career's done, like, look back at this time of adversity and be able to tell my kids how to get through, how to work through adversity like this. And so that's what I'll be most proud of by the end of the day. I'm still going to work to continue to get better, and just continue to support him as best as I can, because that's what a good teammate would do.
I felt like you did some good things against the Lions. Like, you feel like you were playing okay?
I felt like I was, but obviously Zach felt otherwise. So.
Is there, I mean, you're not happy with it, obviously. Is there do you feel like there's an understanding of any of it, of the decision? Or do you feel like you understand their point on it, or no?
Not really.
Yeah.
There was no real, like, reason for it that I was given. And so it is what it is. Like, that's kind of been my mindset, and just understanding, like, there's got to be a bigger picture, a bigger plan, you know, as to what's going on, and I'm just going to continue to do whatever my role is and try to be a professional as best I can, given the circumstances. So
it seemed, from my angle, to be a risky decision to take. They were just praising how you've been getting everybody lined up right. You're a veteran. There's rookies all around. Did you view it that way? Like, surprised in that regard, in terms of this team needs a veteran out there right now?
I mean, it was surprising. Like I said, the reason I was given is because he wanted to spark on defense, and so I don't know what exactly that means. And I asked if there was anything I could do to improve and be better, and I wasn't really given a great reason. And so that's the hardest part about the whole situation. But like I said before, like, that's not going to change who I am because of the cards I've been dealt. Like, I'm going to continue to be a good teammate, support him with anything he needs and any help he needs. Like, that's just going to be who I am.
This isn't like a good thing, but, like, do you feel like they just kind of wanted to play the young guy and see what they had?
I think so. I mean, you can ask, I'm sure you guys can ask Zach that question, but I'm guessing that was certainly part of it.
What was last week like for you? I mean, was it
Weird.
as challenging? Yeah, as challenging
Weird
as
mentally. Weird physically. Just like I'm just new. Like it hasn't happened since my second year, and so just a lot of processing and a lot of being quiet, and but that's why I made sure on Wednesday's practice to talk to him about it. It's like, dude, there's nothing between us, just because that's what they wanted to do. I want to continue to help you and pour into you, and that was kind of the conversation that we had.
There's Logan Wilson from the locker room on Tuesday. You know, you hear Logan there, and you feel for the guy. And I was he playing great? No. But if I was listing off the problems on this defense, I don't know that he'd make my top 5 in terms of the way he was playing. He was fine. And considering all the youth and mistakes and the worries about that have existed over time about people being in the wrong spots and lined up incorrectly and worried about missed tackles, for that to be the move, it's just kind of a reckless decision in my mind for a defense that already had issues. And what happens? And I'm not putting all this on this one move, but the moment you do that, you miss 19 tackles against Green Bay, something that hadn't been a huge issue for you. You're lined up in the wrong gaps. They're running right up the A gap on you for a touchdown. Those things aren't totally coincidental there, and you have to wonder about just taking unnecessary risk that they're taking on for a defense that already had plenty of risk that it was playing with.
Yeah, kind of a weird juxtaposition there too, because I people were probably focused in on what Logan's saying, but I could hear on the audio me talking to Barrett Carter 2 lockers away, asking him about the 2 plays where he messed up. The one where him and Demetrius Knight went to the wrong gap and Josh Jacobs runs right up the middle. The other one where he thinks Jordan Love's going to pull the ball down and scramble, and he goes after him and leaves Josh Jacobs wide open for another conversion. So there's 2 reasons I think they did this, and one is kind of what we were talking about, where yes, they went to Green Bay and they believed they could win and they wanted to win, but I think they felt like you don't make that move Pittsburgh week. You get Barrett Carter's feet wet, you get him ready, and then you hope that a lot of the rookie mistakes, the first start mistakes, a lot of those are gone by the time you play Pittsburgh. The other one I wonder about, and again, it's risky because how many times do we hear Al Golden yesterday say, we just wanted to see what would happen? It was almost like it's like, well, if you're not sure, why are you making this move? But the other one I kind of wonder about is a little bit of that 3D chess kind of thing. Is Logan Wilson shrapnel for the coaches putting the locker room on notice that none of your jobs are safe? This is going south, and if any of you guys think you're safe in a role, we will put someone younger in there and start bringing them along. I know there's some guys that you just can't do that with because of the depth on the roster is what it is, but I almost wonder if it was kind of a shot across the bow where, we're ready to do this. Because Logan had played okay, but then again, you see him missing tackles, you see him taking poor angles, and a lot of that I think is because he's gotten older and he's lost his step and he hasn't got the speed back from the knee injury, and he doesn't just take bad angles. He understands where he needs to be, but sometimes the body doesn't get there, so it looks like a horrible angle because you're not getting there the way you used to. I didn't understand it in the moment, but the more I thought about it last night after we left the stadium and everything, I was just like, I wonder if that was the thought process of just, hey, chances of us going to Green Bay and winning this game are pretty remote. Let's get Barrett Carter's feet wet, get him ready for Pittsburgh, and then hopefully you start seeing the speed match up with the knowledge, and they get some better linebacker play, which they need play all across that defense. But that, if you could solidify that with the 2 rookies and seeing them growing together, that could be the start of something.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you can sit here and point to it and say, "Oh, they've been so good with Logan Wilson." Like that's not necessarily been the case. I just think stability, a sure tackler when he gets there, knowing that he can keep people in line and doing the right thing is going to be important right now, especially against Aaron Rodgers of all people. Like, going to be looking to throw to the backs and the tight ends and pick you apart underneath and all that stuff and take advantage of linebackers that don't know what they're doing. Like the play to the check down to Josh Jacobs that Jordan Love had for that huge chunk play. Like, does Logan Wilson make that play? We'll never know, but like, there's certain things of just experience that you need right now. That's something that you could do after the mini bye, get a couple of the Jets and the Bears game, and then you have another bye to process it in time. Like right now, they just need to win so badly right now to be like, oh, let's take on the growing pains today, is just a showing of we're out of answers, man, other than play the kids. Like like, we don't know, whatever's here ain't working. Like you said, Al's response is sort of, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Almost the can't be worse than it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Feels like that's what it is let's just see if something different happens. And that signals desperation. Signals not having any real answers. And I think Logan Wilson takes that on the chin. I don't think that's necessarily his fault, but that's the draft pick they have, and they're just looking to get all these young guys in there and at least be fast. I don't necessarily agree with it at this point, and because he is a captain, he is somebody who is a true veteran out there, and I just feel like they're so young and kind of lost anyway. A stabilizing force and one that that can be a sure tackler is not the one to get rid of at this moment. But they're just looking for anything else. And when you consider how bad they've been, maybe there's something to that. And maybe that means by the end of the year, Knight and Carter become this centerpiece of where things will go. And that can happen. Linebacker's just such a tough position to be good at quickly in this league. So hard. It so rarely happens. It really does. And so that's just going to not get you exposed right now. When you have two rookies out there is just a wild kind of thought.
Yeah, and it's almost kind of like the political playbook where look over here. They're trying to distract you from the issues on offense and say, look at the defense. We're going to make a change over here. That's been the real problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's all been problems. They're not a very good team right now, and that's part of it. There are some good things happening. You have DJ Turner's growth. You have Dax Hill being the stabilizing force. The return of Shamar Stewart, who before he got hurt really looked like they were finding some answers there. You have something. They've made some stops. Like they've had these halves or stretches where they look like they can keep you in games and be solid, but too often at some point every game it has fallen apart and they haven't been able to be consistent in that. I want to shift over to our Camargo Insurance run, pass, or boot. As you know, you guys send your run, pass, or boot questions into our good friend Josh at Camargo Insurance, and he will be the judge and jury of which ones we read. You guys have been sending those in. Certainly appreciate that. You guys know now about Josh. He's been a Growl pal forever. And if you want to have it read, send it to Josh at CamargoInsurance.com. Send him your RPBs. You can send them to us too, but make sure he's included on that. When you're working with Josh at Camargo for your insurance, the true concierge experience. There's no fluff or run around. It's just real one-on-one help from somebody who gets it. He's not your average agent either. He's a certified insurance and risk professional who helps business owners protect what they've built and plan for what's next. So if you own a small business, reach out to Josh to assure peace of mind that you have the best coverage available. His mission is to empower you to live your best life with confidence, knowing your coverage actually makes sense. And he's such a good dude. He's giving away to the Growl Pals, that's 2 tickets to the Bengals and Ravens game at Paycor in December. All you got to do is request the free, no obligation quote. No policy purchase is necessary to enter to win. Just fill it out, get your quote, and you can see if you can win some seats and also make sure that your coverage actually makes sense. A link to enter is found in the episode notes, or you can just go to thegrowlerpodcast.com and click the link there. So if you are interested in insurance that is simple, personal, and handled by someone who's a trusted growl pal, reach out to Josh at Camargo Insurance, judge and jury of the RPB, Josh at CamargoInsurance.com. This week, the winning submission came from Chris C., who said, who will be benched next? Maybe it should be who should be benched next, and are those the same? Might be the question here. So the three options given: Cam Taylor-Britt, Andre Yosibas, or Barrett Carter. Back to Logan Wilson. Does that happen next? Jay, what say you?
I think I have to run with CTB. I'm sitting here thinking about what celebrity, who's been given a ton of second chances and blown them all. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, but it seems like that's what we're dealing with. Cam Taylor-Britt. It's every week there's mistakes, and there's how many times has he been benched in the middle of a game, and then they keep going back to him, and it just feels like he is on really thin ice right now. And that's a case where it's odd because he would seem more likely to be the guy that would get benched than Logan. It kind of shows you where their faith is in Fig Newton, DJ Ivy, the rest of them. So I think it's got to be Cam. Yoshi, I just don't know that you have anybody behind him that you would trust there, especially with Mike Gesicki out now.
Would you go to Tinsley? Would you go to Tinsley?
Yeah, that's a good one. Maybe that is the call, because I was either way. Even if you didn't have anybody, I think I would boot Carter, because it feels like this is a move you can't go back from. Like, once you make this move, it's done. And I do believe in Barrett Carter. I've seen enough of him, in training camp, and he looks the part out there. And yeah, he made rookie mistakes. That's what rookies do. But I do think there's something there. And this is kind of more of the long game, even though they don't have much of a ramp to have a long game. They need help right now. But I feel like that's kind of a permanent switch. So I'll run with CTB, boot Yoshi, and I'll boot Barrett Carter.
Yeah, I think you have to run with CTB. I feel like there's a good chance we've now asked two people, Zach Taylor and Al Golden, and got the response of, we evaluate everybody, which you never want to hear if it's about you. And so it feels like you're going to see somebody else given some type of opportunity there in that CTB role, whether it's Fig Newton or somebody else in the back of that room. We know that if you rewatch with myself and Charlie earlier this week, we talked about 3rd and 8, and Al Golden said, look, we had the perfect call. Actually, we had a double on Golden, and the double ended up being with Cam Taylor-Britt and Jordan Battle, and Cam doesn't hold the double. He just keeps on running, and Jordan loses the leverage across him on the route by Golden. And because it took 4.3 seconds, he's able to complete it for a game-changing play. And it's just the stuff that gets you benched. It's the stuff that takes you down. And I think that's one where it feels like they're just at the end of their latest rope with Cam Taylor-Britt. I will go Yoshi next, because you could turn to Tinsley for some reps. He had a really good game against Detroit, and there was a little bit more of a vote of confidence behind him from Zach Taylor when I asked about that on Monday. So maybe I'm holding on to that for now. And yeah, I'm with you. I think you go with Carter. It has to be a true dumpster fire to now go back to be like, oh, I'm sorry, Logan. I didn't mean it. Come on back. I mean, that just doesn't feel like where it goes next. So good question from Chris. Appreciate it. Make sure you send in your RPB submissions to Josh at Camargo Insurance. And you can win Bengals Ravens tickets, the giveaway form. You can find them in the show notes or at thegrowlerpodcast.com. It just takes 2 minutes. Get your no obligation quote. You don't have to purchase anything. Then you have a chance to go to Bengals v Ravens. Get on in there today. Okay, so benchings are fine, Jay, and what's happening at linebacker. And we've talked about some of the things in the secondary. To me, when I think about this game and when I think about the direction of this defense, I go back to the defensive line and the same thing that we have been saying forever. If they don't start getting pressure on the quarterback more often, none of it matters. It's the thing they didn't address properly in the offseason, and it's been hampered by not having Shamar for the last few weeks. But in general, there's just not been near enough pass rush. And now they go into Thursday night, and we don't know if Trey Hendrickson's going to be able to play. As we sit here right now, that is still unknown. I think the thought is that he maybe could or might try. Feels like a best case scenario right now. He's limited and can give you some snaps, but you're not going to be able to get full Trey with this hip injury that he left. You saw it in the second half when they needed pressure desperately. They couldn't get it, and it wasn't showing up from the other guys that were out there, whether it was, Miles or Joe Osai or Cam Sample or Chris Jenkins or any of these guys were not delivering it consistently, and it's hurting them. It's hurting them in a big way, and Shamar coming back might help. He was more dynamic than anybody in those early games, but unless answers start showing up there, it's just going to continue to be an uphill battle for this defense.
Yeah, and I do think it is a big deal getting Shamar back. I mean, basically, what we saw him for one game and partial Jacksonville game before he got hurt. Now he's missed 4. I wonder, does Al kind of take the same let's just see what happens mindset and start blitzing more? They have not blitzed, and that's how you get pressure, and you're already giving up plays. So take some chances, especially against a guy like Rodgers who isn't very mobile. Now maybe he's going to pick apart a blitz the way Joe Burrow does, and the book on him may be not to blitz him, but they've got to find a way to manufacture pressure somewhere, and maybe that's part of the Barrett Carter switch too, where you get some guy with more speed and more able to bring the blitz. Logan isn't a guy you would really blitz much, so it is that so much of it depends on that. And I know he wants to protect that back end because it hasn't been great, but at some point you have to go with the let's just see what happens and do something go out of the box and start trying to manufacture pressure, because the D line is not getting it on its own. And if you don't have Trey tonight, Thursday night, then you really, really wonder where it's going to come from.
The first 3 weeks, nobody blitzed less than Al Golden by a long shot, like 10% less than the 31st rate. Like, it was unbelievable. It was stuff that we haven't really seen. Since then, he has gotten a lot more. It feels like it was like, okay, I wanted to be able to just rush 4, but no one's winning. Right. And so I'm going to be a little bit more blitz heavy. And so now, they've been up sort of middle of the pack since then. So there's a little bit more urgency with that. But it's not like they're still a super blitz heavy team. But the problem is that they're just not winning enough. I want to bring this up here for you. For those of you following on YouTube, you can see this chart, but essentially this is the Bengals defensive line pass rush win rates via PFF right now this year. And this is out of 176 qualifiers across the NFL and where they rank in both regular win percentage and then true pass set win percentage. Hendrickson, of course, he's 7th overall and 14th in true pass set. So you knew he was going to be up there. He has the most pass rush snaps of anybody. Next in win rate is Miles. He's 102nd. BJ Hill is 114th. Joseph Osai is, I'm leaning in to see it better, 136. TJ Slayton, 143. Chris Jenkins, 163. And those numbers are actually worse in true pass sets, where Hendrickson's the only one better than 150th. No, Slayton is 135 down there. I mean, 135 is the second best when they get teams into the true pass set that you're supposed to be trying to get teams into. That is a problem. And they're just not winning enough when they get one-on-ones. And you're definitely going to get there a lot less when you go up against Aaron Rodgers, who gets the ball out so quickly. And until that solves itself, you're just going to continue to have problems, Jay.
Yeah. And that is the I don't know, the damned if you do, damned if you don't element here, because it does feel like they need to come heavy with it. But against Aaron Rodgers, I don't know that is the way to play. And maybe they wait another week. You've got Justin Fields around the corner, who just got sacked 9 times for 55 yards. So play back, force the Steelers to drive the length of the field. They're not a very explosive offense, so maybe that will be Al Golden's plan, is to drop back this week and then wait to kind of dial up the blitz after the mini bye. But you even if you're not going to blitz, you've still got to get some semblance of pressure there, because Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to run around and extend plays that way that like he used to. But he's going to find somebody if you're not getting pressure on him, and it's looking like it looked with Jordan Love, or 4.3 to make that throw the backbreaker. That's not going to be a recipe for any kind of success for this defense.
Let's move over to Ross Tucker, and then we'll come back and we'll get into all the specifics of this game and offer up the stats and the predictions and everything that you want to know about Thursday night football. But first, the man who will be on the call with John Sadak on Westwood One, Ross Tucker. All right, for those of you watching on YouTube, always appreciate all our YouTube people. Make sure you go check out Ross. The separate is up on the YouTube channel. You can go watch that there now, and then you can come right back to us here. But we always appreciate everybody that subscribes and gets all the alerts and everything on YouTube, whether it be here, whether it be Rewatch Reaction Show, The Walkout presented by Joseph Toda Cincinnati, all the stuff that we do, Who They Light. We appreciate everybody that watches. We try to make it dynamic for you here on the YouTube channel. Give you a little extra. Tell your friends. Tell your friends how good the YouTube channel is. Let them know. Get them in there as subscribers. All right. Thanks to Ross Tucker for joining us. Great conversation as always. Can't wait to see the feast review. I wonder if the halftime skyline will make it in. Normally he just goes for the pregame spread. Maybe a special social amendment will be made to get to the halftime skyline review, Jay.
Yeah, I don't. A lot of the people that don't live here are not very kind to Skyline, so maybe it's best for the Bengals if he just leaves the halftime alone and goes with the pregame. I feel like the pregame has been better this year. They've taken a step forward, but I don't know where they're going to rank on his rankings, because there are some other places in the league where it's elite.
Well, apparently that's not Washington, we learned with Ross. So
it never has been.
The idea is to be better than that right now. Okay, Jay. Bengals, Steelers, 8:15, Amazon, Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit on the call. Let's dig into it. They're calling it the Unk Bowl. Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco, both in their 40s, going against each other. Cam Hayward says it's the Icy Hot Bowl. I like that one.
I like Boomer Bowl, but these guys are even too young to be boomers. But Boomer is not an actual. It is an actual generation, but the kids with their slang is anybody old is a boomer. The one I kind of like is remember the old blue gray classic that they would play, the All-Star game that they played on Christmas Day. Yeah, blue for bruises, gray for hair. So, but I think Unk Bowl nails it.
What about the gray game instead of the blue-gray game? I kind of like that. Steelers are favored by 5.5. This is the time, Jay, where I do what I do. I have beaten this dead horse to a pulp over the years. The Bengals have always been on the wrong side of this, and that is the AFC North divisional primetime road games. It is just an uphill slog for these road teams. They just don't win often. And specifically on the short week of Thursday night games, it goes all the way back to 2015. The home team has won 9 in a row. They've covered 7 of 9. It's just consistent. This is a couple of times coincidence. This is 9 in a row that we have seen the home team in the AFC North Thursday night primetime game win these games. They're tough. It's tough travel on the road team. These divisional games are tough anyway. 9 in a row. Even Cleveland has actually been really good in these spots, beating Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh has been really bad. You were documenting that just this week.
Yeah, I mentioned it to you in the media room. You're like, "Are you sure you've got the filters right on that?" And
I know. I was like, check your filters, Jay.
I did. I just went back to 2012 when they started playing Thursday night games every week. They used to just do it the second half of the year. 2012, they started doing it every week. Since then, the Cleveland Browns are 9-3 on Thursday night. They have the best Thursday winning percentage of any team in the league, and the Steelers are next to last. They are way down at the bottom at 4-10. It's just it makes no sense. The Bengals are 6-6. They're right in the middle, but this is a good spot. The Steelers rarely win on Thursday night, home or away. So it's another chance for the Bengals to get right.
And another trend that's happening right now, we've seen in these in the last 7 primetime games, the underdog is 1-6. We saw it twice on Monday Night Football. The parity across the league is crazy right now, in terms of you're just seeing a lot of unexpected results, specifically when you get into these charged environments in these primetime games. So, the latest example being, that Falcons game against the Bills. Everybody's on the Bills, but you get them in the dome and at home, and something different happens. The Bengals will bring the Steelers into the whiteout. They'll be in the all whites. Primetime home game, which they have been begging for more of these. It sets up where all the trends in that respect are in their favor. As far as you can go with those trends, I think a lot of the feel, and then the encouragement, I think certainly from what you saw from Joe Flacco the other day, makes you think that, okay, you could see that happening. Weather for this game, looking like low 50s probably during the game, a little bit better than that for your tailgate. No rain in the forecast, so should be a pretty clean, solid football weather at its finest, Jay, as far as I'm concerned. Last time these two teams played, week 18 last year, the Bengals with a win in Pittsburgh that made them think that for a minute, maybe they could make the playoffs until they kicked off in Denver. And that was that. But they won 19-17 in that game. So they a team that they have beaten before, an environment that they have won games in before. An interesting setup for this, to be certain. Injuries and news. Where are we at with the injury list right now? I know some of it is going to be, this ends up a lot of these Thursday night games. Your injuries go right up to the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, Tanner Hudson seems unlikely. The concussion protocol coming on a short week, that doesn't look good. Mike Gesicki's out, so you're down 2 tight ends. They haven't
Both
ruled
your
him out.
Receiving tight ends too.
Yeah, right. They haven't ruled him out, but we know that's going to be the case. We talked about Trey Hendrickson. Shamar, they expect to get back. A good question is Lucas Patrick. Does he come back? He was eligible to come off IR last week. They didn't quite make the move, but he's been practicing full. Wouldn't be surprised to see that just be a swap. Lucas Patrick comes back from IR. Mike Gesicki goes on IR. You don't have to make any other corresponding moves. And then BJ Hill has been out, but it's mostly been rest. So I think they feel good about him playing. Charlie Jones, new injury, ribs, but he was out there at practice last night. I imagine he'll probably be questionable. He doesn't play a lot on offense anyhow, so I could see him getting in there and just returning kicks and punts the way he has been all year.
The guard situation. I feel like every week we're going to be like, who's going to play this week? It's just sort of this revolving door of hope. But some positivity around Jalen Rivers, even though he was far from perfect, especially in pass protection. He brought them some physicality. We documented that on the rewatch show that maybe they're looking for. If Dylan Fairchild is healthy, is he the guy? Is it Reisner? Is it Lucas Patrick? I think it's kind of take your pick and spin the wheel at this point. Certainly, if Patrick being up makes sense because of his versatility to shift over to center if something happens. Keep it locked to us as they get up to game time. Those moves will start popping off on Thursday.
I think the Bengals are watching live on YouTube, watching us right now because they just put Mike Gesicki on IR. They have made that move official. We knew it was coming. They did not announce the corresponding move, but again, we would expect Lucas Patrick to come off IR.
Yeah, pectoral injury for Gesicki. The quote now is he'll be out a while. It certainly feels like there's a good chance that we have seen the last of Mike Gesicki this year. That's definitely in play. All right. Let's get into ref report, Jay. What do we got? Flag heavy. We finally felt like we got a game without too many flags. That was nice. What's our crew look like?
Mr. Mid. It's Clay Martin. He is right in the middle, 10th in total flags out of 17 crews, 8th in accepted flags. He has been right in that middle range each of the last 5 years. That's just who he is. A lot of these guys have wild swings. Some years they're at the top of the league. Some years they're at the bottom. He's always right in the middle. So I think that's a good sign. You know what you're going to get. The Bengals don't have a long history with Clay Martin. He's done 4 games in the past with him as the head referee, but 2 of them have been pretty notable. He was the referee the night the Cincinnati kid, Sam Hubbard, had the fumble in the jungle and had that play. Clay Martin also was on the call for the CZ Cavs game, the Joe Burrow debut in 2020 against the Chargers. So they're 2-2 with him, and he is same thing, right in the middle, right around floating around 500 as far as most flags thrown.
It's never a good thing if the kids call you Mr. Mid, except in this case. This is the one time where it's great. I'm just glad to hear we don't have some crazy stat about the second most flags thrown on a Thursday. Like it's always depressing when I hear that. I'm glad to know that we're dealing with Mr. Mid this week. All right, let's move on to the stat that matters most in this game, Jay.
Yeah, I'm going to go with what we talked about earlier and go with pressures. And they've got to get some pressure on Aaron Rodgers, likely, possibly, whatever you want to use for Trey Hendrickson. I just don't think you're going to get a full dose of him if you get anything at all. So they've got to find a way to get some pressure on Rodgers. I went back and looked since 2021 in his elder years. He's 7-15 when he's pressured at least 8 times in a game. When it's 7 or less, he's 22-12. I know that goes for a lot of quarterbacks that you get pressured. It's not likely to end well. Joe Burrow, 20-7 with 7 or less, still has a winning record with 8 or more, 19-15. But things really fall off for Rodgers at 7-15 when you can get to him 8 times. And the Bengals, by the way, when they get 8.5 pressures in a game, they're 29-15. 7 or fewer, they're 13-16. This year, they're 0-3 with 7 or fewer. So that is my key stat. They have got to find a way. Not necessarily sacks, not necessarily quarterback hits, but you got to get some pressure. You got to make Aaron Rodgers feel uncomfortable.
Yep. For me, contain DK Metcalf. I mean, Pittsburgh's offense, any explosiveness they've really seen has pretty much been DK dependent. You know, they're 4-1, but I kind of view them as 3-2. They should have lost that Patriots game. Patriots turned it over 4 times and really blew that game in Pittsburgh. If you look at the 3 games that they won and played well, DK had big games. He had 83 yards, 126 yards, and 95. Those other 2, 20 and 32. Teams that were able to contain DK Metcalf really gave Pittsburgh a hard time, and they had trouble moving the ball because they had trouble finding explosives because Aaron is getting the ball out quickly. He is throwing behind the line a ton. Like it's going to be a lot of that underneath stuff. They need to find some kind of explosiveness to consistently move the ball up and down the field. DK has been the only one really providing that. And so, you know, the last 3 weeks, here's the highest non-DK receiving yards. You had 35. Let's see. Only Darnell Washington had more than 35. Had 62 last week. In the last 3 games, he's the only one besides DK to have more than 35 yards receiving. Like, they don't really have anywhere else to go. It's why they're in the market for a receiver right now at the trade deadline. They're looking for something else and not finding it. So if you can contain him, you can feel great. The problem with that, if you're Cincinnati, is that used to be the Cam Taylor-Britt job.
Exactly.
When DK Metcalf came here with Seattle a couple of years ago, CTB was the DK killer, right? And he got him frustrated because he is your biggest, most physical corner. He is sort of this is made to be a Cam Taylor-Britt game. He's had this game before. You can't rely on him, though. So technically, you would think you would maybe turn to DJ Turner. but that's not his style. He's a smaller, quicker, and that doesn't mean he can't still cover DK. But in terms of style and physicality and playing that type of ball, Cam Taylor-Britt's kind of your guy, which makes me really curious to see how they use him. And if what they do in terms of if DJ Turner travels with them or if they try to use Dax Hill, who's more of a physical player than DJ is, you could see that as well. But really curious to see how they handle DK and the way that they do. If they can keep him under 50, and you get him in that range of those 2 losses, I think you have a really good chance of winning this game.
Cam gets his 6th second chance this week because it does. He just matches up so well, being so physical with DK. And there was some talk with Al Golden yesterday about traveling corners and all that. And he didn't obviously want to get into the game plan, but it's a real concern. DJ Turner has been fantastic this year, but can he hold up against the physicality of a DK Metcalf?
The Bobby Petrino of Bengals cornerbacks. How about that? Does that work?
There you go.
Chances?
Perfect.
How many second chances does one person get? Right. But here we go. All right, Growler Bet. Growler Bet time, Jay. Let's get to it. Last week, the Growler Bet was Joe Flacco pass yards. Where was it going to end up in his debut? The answer was 219. Jay, you had 242 and I had 243. I was looking for the higher number. I didn't get it. The first half killed me. You technically are the winner on that one. In terms of your submissions, Growl Pals, we had somebody who hit the number right on the nose. 219 from Tyler Thurston. What a guess by Tyler Thurston. There's only one problem, Jay. It came in 15 minutes after the game kicked off.
Nope. Can't accept.
So close. Oh, so close. There are rules here, people. Without rules, there's anarchy. And we will not have that. We will not have chaos here at the Growler. Well, we will, but not in the Growler Bet. And we just can't accept it. I got to say, it came in at 440. How did you watch the first drive and you're like, 219 is what I want to know. But sorry, too late. Excellent effort, Tyler. But nothing for you. You can submit yours to us at thegrowlerpodcast.com, and you can win drinks on me at one of our live shows down at BetMGM and Tom's Watch Bar. Some of my favorite subject headers from last week. Scott Castleman with Waka Flocka Flame. Not bad. Not bad. Mike Loomis, 40 is the new Growler. Okay, I like it. Anytime you're trying to work Growler in the subject header, that's important. Everybody's doing it. This one from Andrew. Okay, you're a Joe. I'm a Joe. That's terrific. But I am very busy with this Growler, as I imagine you are. A great Lebowski drop. You're a Lebowski. I'm a Lebowski. Went on to say, I just want to understand this, sir. Every time a Growler is hit in this fair city, you have to compensate the person. Another great Lebowski drop there as a part of that as well. Michael Creasap. That Flacco really tied the offense together. I mean, I appreciate how consistent with the Lebowski references you guys are. It warms my heart. Thank you very much. You guys also know that we love Survivor here, so shout out to Josh Overholzer, who said, Jake Browning, the Growler has spoken. Yes. Put out his flame there.
Thanks for coming out.
This one from Chris Y. Arby's steak nuggets was the subject header, which was confusing to me other than just a great reference to Jay's new favorite Arby's meal. And he said a 5-piece of Arby's steak nuggets have 340 calories divided by the 2 wins they have so far. So 170 yards for Flacco. I appreciate your hard work to get Jay's love of Arby's into the Growler Bet. So thank you very much for that. Jay, the upset of the year is that you didn't have any steak nuggets on our trip to Green Bay.
Yeah, we didn't stop at an Arby's. I got 2 helpings of 5-piece steak nuggets last week at Arby's. I have not been this week, so that just made me hungry. I think that's where I will go for lunch as soon as we stop this podcast.
Reminder, send in your submissions to the Growler Bet, to the Growler Podcast at gmail.com. All right, Jay, this week we are going to do, what did we want to do? We want to do Bengals longest reception. Bengals longest reception is going to be this week's Growler Bet. They are on the hunt for explosives. Of course, Joe Flacco kind of throwing underneath a lot, started to open it up a little bit more, but will they be able to find explosives against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense? Jay, what do you say for Bengals longest reception on Thursday?
I think they find it. Jamar has a history of getting, it's more against Baltimore, but he's done it to Pittsburgh too. He gets explosives against these division teams. An underneath throw to Jamar can turn into an explosive very fast. I can see it being one of those things where it's a touchback that starts at the 35 and first play 65 yards. So that's what I'm going to go with, a 65-yard explosive. Probably Jamar, but maybe they hit T over the top for one too. But that's where I'll go. That's going to play the odds. A lot of drives start at the 35, so I'm going to go with a 65-yarder.
Okay. That would be something. I'm going to say that they still kind of struggle to find the explosives. I mean, yeah, maybe they can find one. I don't know that they're there yet with it. I think they're still just trying to work that quick hitting functionality. So I'm going to say 26. 26 is going to be my long for the Bengals in this one. So
the opposite of last week.
The opposite of last. That's right. Send your submissions into the Growler Podcast at gmail.com. Okay, prediction for you, Jay. What do you think?
Well, this kind of counters my Growler Bet. I think it looks like an ugly slugfest Bengals-Steelers game, a lot like last year's season finale, so much so that I'm going to go with the exact same score. I do think it's a gotta-have-it win. It's a must-win. You've got your armband out. I wrote about it. They've got to have this game. The Steelers are terrible on Thursday nights. It just feels like this is the spot where they kind of breathe some life back into this season and find a way to pull out a win. So I'm going to go with the exact same score from last year, week 18, and go 19-17. It's just a very Bengals-Steelers-ish score.
So I was really intrigued by Tuesday's locker room. Now, these short weeks are often weird, right? The vibes are weird. People are beat up. It's like, gosh, you got to play a game on Thursday. Everybody has their process of dealing with that short week. But it was just, I don't know. The vibe was weird. I didn't love it. And maybe it was part of the Logan Wilson thing. I don't know. But it was just kind of a weird vibe. It was the first thing this week that was concerning for me. Everything else, I have loved the direction of the Bengals in this game. I like what you saw from the offense in Green Bay. I felt like they're going to be a lot better in that regard and have things in a better place. You guys know the stats about the AFC North road games. You know about the whiteout. You know about what's been happening in these primetime games, all those trends we were talking about before. And I just don't think Pittsburgh is a good enough team right now to run and hide in the North. And this is one of their biggest obstacles that they know that they can do it. I don't think the Bengals are great right now, but I think that they have enough going for them in this environment that they can beat a team that's pretty good, but has its own flaws in its own right. And so I have them winning. I have 25-23, and the crowd kind of giving them enough to get a couple of stops. The Steelers have kind of been in that range mostly. That 17-23 range has been where they've been playing. And I think the Bengals can have enough offensively to pick up where they left off against Green Bay and get some points, get just enough to get the win, hit the over, and everything I talked about in the boost at the top. So I have Bengals winning 25-23.
Yeah. You mentioned the crowd. I do kind of wonder, the Lions kind of ruined the stripe the jungle. Are the Steelers fans going to ruin the whiteout? Is it going to look like a Dalmatian with a lot of white and then a bunch of black spots all over the place? Because every year there's a lot of Steelers fans that make this trip.
Yeah. fully expect to see that, especially with the black against the white out. And maybe that's part of the difference. Maybe the crowd advantage is taken a little bit out of it if we see a repeat of what happened against Detroit. All certainly fully possible. Jay, did we get to your stats? I know there were some stats that I think you were going to try to drop.
Oh,
in
yeah.
there.
I was going to try to work
we
those
skipped
in.
over 'em.
So real quick, the Bengals have gone 4 straight weeks without a touchdown in the first half. That is tied for the longest in franchise history. It's happened 5 times in franchise history. 3 of them have been in the Zach Taylor era. So it also happened in the first 4 games of 2023. They failed to score a touchdown in those games. In 2019, Zach's first year, in weeks 3 through 6, they went 4 straight games without a first half touchdown. In 2002, they did it again, opened the season that way. First 4 weeks, no touchdowns in the first half. And then way back in 1978, weeks 5 through 8, that might have been the worst offensive stretch in Bengals history. They lost those 4 games. They didn't just not score touchdowns in the first half. They just didn't bother scoring touchdowns at all. 1 touchdown in 4 weeks. They had a 28-12 loss to the 49ers, a 21-0 loss to the Dolphins, a 10-3 loss to the Patriots, and a 5-0 loss to the Bills. Just a brutal, brutal stretch. But even then, they had 463 first half yards. This current stretch of 4 games in a row without a first half touchdown, 372 yards. It's been so bad. They've been outscored by 70 in the first halves of these games. That's the most of any of these 5 streaks. 3 of the previous 4 streaks, they didn't have offensive touchdowns, but they found ways to at least get touchdowns. Charlie Jones had a punt return for a touchdown in that 2023 streak. Brandon Wilson had a 92-yard kickoff return for a touchdown in the 2019 streak. And Brian Simmons had an interception return in the 2002 streak. So no touchdowns at all for the Bengals in this streak. I feel like that's got to stop. They against Pittsburgh, to go 5 straight games without a first half touchdown would be a franchise first, and it would just, the alarm bells that are already going off would be even louder.
If you are listening or watching this and you or someone you know was at the Bills 5 Bengals 0 game from 1978, I want to hear from you. I want to know all the details of how awful that game was. Please 5-0.
Yeah. It was in Buffalo. It might have been one of those crazy snow games. I don't get the details. I just looked at the box score. But yeah, 5-0 is pretty brutal.
You know what a great place, if you know somebody who was at that game, you should probably bring them to BetMGM, and I'm at a pretty good chance you're going to win tickets to Bengals-Jets because you might have the oldest person in the room at that point and be the big winner for that one. But boy, that must have been absolutely brutal. Arby's, Jay. Any Bengals insight, extras, or stories from this week?
Yeah, so 5 of us made the trip to Green Bay, drove in the same vehicle. Paul made the whole drive up, both from Cincinnati to Milwaukee and then from Milwaukee to Green Bay on game day. We left Green Bay at 10:30, and I drove the whole way home through the night. We got back 5:30 or so. We got back to our rendezvous point with everybody's cars. Richard Skinner had said he stays up late, and he said he would sit in the front seat and help keep me awake. And James Rapine said, no, I have some work I need to do. How about, can I have shotgun? So Richard Skinner agrees, and he goes back into his little cave in the 3rd row in the back of the big Tahoe. And James Rapine, his idea of keeping me awake was to sleep for most of the ride. He said he had some work to do, and this is what his work looked like. Credit to Andrew Fox Miller for taking this picture. James Rapine fell asleep in the middle of writing a story, and there you can just see a lot of E's and 3's there where his hands were resting on the keys. So I didn't need someone in the shotgun seat to keep me awake. I was able to stay awake, but I took a picture of James sleeping next to me, but the screen was blurry on my picture. I'm so glad that Andrew got this shot.
That is great. And credit to you, Jay, for not posting the picture of James actually sleeping next to
Yeah.
you. We'll be nice. But yeah, James, the one that slept the most,
Yeah.
our good friend that was rolling in the shotgun. But you were at one point we stopped for gas and you went inside to go get your coffee or whatever in Chicago. And Skinny and I kind of looked at each other and was like, he says, I think Jay's going to want to do this. I was like, I definitely think Jay's going to do this. And we were just kind of dumbfounded by it. We're like, all right, but you did. You are an absolute beast and you got us home, and credit to you on that. I wanted to bring up also, I don't know if people recognize this, how much you know. It's like a game's on TV. It's whatever. When Amazon is doing a game, there is an absolute infestation of people and trucks that come down to the building. I don't understand necessarily why, other than Jeff Bezos is like, I don't know, why don't we just spend like $8 million on every game in labor force? But there are so many people and trucks around Paycor Stadium. The moment we got back, it's unlike any other game. No, even the Monday night games, Sunday night football are nothing like this. It is crazy the amount of people. They have their own security in terms of letting people in and out that sets up tables outside just to keep track of their people. It is crazy. I don't know. I just don't know that people recognize how much extra production goes into these Amazon games, but it is bananas, Jay. They are everywhere.
It is. And it was as soon as we got back on Monday, it was already there. A lot of times there's one or two trucks. There's probably 4 inside the gates and more lined up outside the gates.
Yeah, tons lined up outside the gates all over the place. So no stone unturned in the production on Amazon. There's no doubt about that. But I just think it's a touch of a behind the scenes stuff that people probably don't realize that happens with some of these games. But anyway, all right. Bengals-Steelers, Thursday night football on Amazon and your locals here in Cincinnati. So we hope we will see you guys down at the live show. If you're coming into town for it, we always love to see the out-of-towners in there. If you're just coming down to the game, come on down, say hello. We'll talk about the game. We'll give stuff away. You can spin the prize wheel and get some stuff, and we will have a great time down there at BetMGM. So we hope to see you there. And outside of that, we'll have the walkout presented by Joseph Toyota Cincinnati afterwards. That'll be waiting on you Friday morning. We'll get to the rewatch and all that stuff. And we finally, after that, get into a little bit of a normal week. A couple of 1 o'clock on Sundays at home. Nothing has sounded better, Jay, than 1 o'clock on Sunday. Can't wait to start getting into that run. But big Thursday for the Cincinnati Bengals franchise is on deck. We will be talking about it. Thanks, everybody, for listening and for watching. We'll see you next time.